I am Lauren, and I will be in the company of a dear Rose sister, Dani Frederick, who will be sharing her gifts with you. And so I invite you to find a comfortable spot where you can drop into your deepest inner exploration as we just share some of the ways in which we can ground the light, because it really is through the body that we integrate and can then better serve in the world. And I know I speak to many people who have a strong desire and call to be in service. And so it's really my mission to help others really expand in their mission to do that. So that's why I wanted to invite these incredible women that I have been meeting over the last few years to just share their wisdom, because there is so much out there. And so, welcome, Dani. Dani is the founder of Drum and Fire. It's a monthly chanting collective, and it's resonating our lost connection to the primal, sacred feminine voice. And I think anytime you speak to women and you mention voice, there's like this, because it's a thing. Um, and the cornerstone of her service brings people together to ignite sovereign reclamation. She dances between worlds, marrying the ancient healing arts of the priestess with modern day leadership technologies, making the powerful practical. I love that. I love that. Welcome, Dani. And so I want to, let you introduce yourself in your own words, for those who are new to you and your work. And yeah, so welcome, everyone. Welcome, Dani.
Mm. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me here and for just building this incredible platform. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in live and on the replay. It's really great to be in community in this way. And in my part of the world, it's like mid-morning. So what a blessing to just kickstart our day in this way. And yeah, so I'm a divine feminine mystic and spiritual way shower. So, in simple terms, I just help women come into deeper communion with their heart, their soul, their intuition, their knowing, their voice, and just bring forward more of their authentic self, their self mastery self into this world. So, I have some free offerings like Drum and Fire, and then I have some programs. And um, yeah, I also facilitate at retreats. So, regardless of whatever medium it's coming from, I just try to create safe and sacred spaces for people to remember who they are.
Mm, that is so beautiful. So, Dani, I remember, um, I don't know how long ago it was, but I feel like it was in the last like year and a half, even. It hasn't been like as long as it seems like it has, when you really sort of proclaimed or declared this gift of yours to bring out the channeled songstress and bring that forward in the world. So maybe share with us a little bit about how that came to be, because I think one of the most interesting things that we can share with others is like how these pieces of ourselves that we have remembered are really then actualized.
Yeah, so, I think the first thing is time is weird, right? I feel like I'd be like, oh, it's just coming online now. But when I really think about um, these channeled songs and channeled chants that have just kind of opened up and blossomed within me and come forward, it's, it's been a journey. I think in the world of social media and just seeing everyone's highlight reels, it's so easy to just think that, oh, this person's gifts opened up overnight or their business is taking off overnight. And what we don't see is like the years of healing and clearing and everything that builds up to that moment. And so, I'll say it's like, okay, it's been a path of my entire life, but most recently, what really stands out to me is 2 to 2.5 years. So I think the first thing I'll say is I remember the first chant that downloaded to me in English. And when I say downloaded, I didn't go into prayer or anything and be like, I want to be a song channel. What can I do to do that? I was just in my normal daily practice with spirit, and it's just like, oh, these things downloaded, and they felt really um, just like resonant and very powerful. But I didn't necessarily know what to do with it at that time. So the first one downloaded in August of not last year, but the year before. So that would have been 2021, maybe 2020. I can't really remember. Time is weird right now. But what I do remember is that in July, I had gone to something called G Fest, Goddess Fest. It's in Mount
Mm-hmm.
Shasta. Highly recommend it for anyone who's looking to just engage more with the goddess energy. They have a bunch of different workshops, and it's, in Mount Shasta on this beautiful land. It's really, really affordable. Um, And so, I had a work trip. I was supposed to be at a client, and someone had recommended to me Goddess Fest, probably 4 weeks before. And I was like, wow, this really seems resonant. I really want to go. And the universe kind of rearranged itself where I no longer had to be at that client, and I was going to be in Mount Shasta anyways for a different work situation. And when I say work situation, that was before I had my own thing going. So this was through an organization. And it just opened up, and I went to this goddess fest, and I really feel like that activated me, just being with, 100 plus women in the forest for multiple days, and also being in the vortex of Mount Shasta, which is the root chakra of the world. And I really left that transformed. It's kind of just like a marker that I remember being in my journey of, oh, this it was kind of one of my first times of really being around like a bunch of goddess energy in real life. I had up to that point joined Zoom in like virtual communities, but that was really a big dose. And I think that helped because up to that point I was getting some chanting, but I didn't think about it. I didn't even call it chanting. I didn't know what it was. It was kind of more like light language. And I didn't know what light language was at that time either. But anyways, a month later, I had my first song download to me called The Priestess Reawakens. And it was just in chant form. And, fast forward maybe, gosh, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, I found myself in Nashville, and my younger brother happened to be there at that time. And I did not know that he was working on music production, on the side. And so, since we were in the same place, I just said, hey, I have these chants are coming through, and I have this one in particular. Can you just throw it on a hip hop beat? And he's like, sure, let's try it. And within like 3 days, it was just like this really cool song. It was not the one that I dropped on Spotify. This one has never been released and probably won't, just because it doesn't feel resonant anymore. But that was our first experiment. And then a few months later, in our program that we're in together, we were in a priestess program together by Maren Bach Antonsen, and we were in a visualization. And just hit me. It was like, okay, it's time to actually take this more seriously. And it's time to like host an online concert and release a song. And so I thought, okay, let's see. I had maybe 3 weeks to pull it all together. And I really just had to take that step where I was scared. I was asking some mentors of mine to be part of it. That was intimidating to me because I'm like, I don't really have a platform. Like, for me to ask them to donate their time for free in honor of what I'm bringing forth, like, that's an edge. I think that's an edge for a lot of women. We come up against, our worthiness and is this actually the directives that I'm beginning from getting from spirit? We question our intuition, we question our guidance, and we come up against all these fears of being seen. And what's all the back end? What's like, how do I get an email list? How do I shoot it out? How do people register? How do I know who registered? The whole thing, right? And um, so I put that together, and bless my little brother's heart. We were just like, okay, we've just got to get this song done. And we aren't in the same state. So it can be really difficult to produce a song when you don't have a central location to just go into the lab together and get a song out. It's like I record over here, send to him, he sends back. Oh, we need to tweak this. Oh, doesn't really understand. It turns into a whole thing. So, anyways, we're trying to get this song done. We are down to the wire. And I basically 3 days before the concert where I'm supposed to be unveiling this, this song, I had only gotten maybe 30 seconds of the song from my brother. And, we're aiming for like 3 or 4 minutes. And he's like, don't worry, we've got this. I'm like, okay, yeah, we totally have this. And the concert came and I slightly chickened out. I didn't play it live on the concert, which I'm almost kind of glad because it showed me what this concert actually is. It has nothing to do with my song releases. It's called the Voice of the Rose Lineage concert, and it's about every woman that shows up in devotion and honor to the Rose lineage and works to embody love and walk as love every day. And my song launch is kind of just like a side note. And oh, by the way, this is out if you like it. And that's how I'm going to continue with it. It's now an annual concert. But, back to just this production, um, it was the morning of the concert and my brother texts me and he's like, "Here's the song." And I just said, "I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to upload it to Spotify without listening to it because I do not want to get stuck in perfectionism." Because I already knew, when especially there's so much judgment around our voice, as my voice goes, very interesting. Um, and I wasn't in love with how I sounded in the first place, but I knew I was being called. And so I just looked at this is my love letter to the universe. This is my stake in the ground saying, universe, I hear you. I hear and trust where you're guiding me, and I'm game. So it wasn't about, does it sound good? Are people going to listen? Are people going to think I'm dumb? Like, yes, I had all those thoughts, but the thoughts that I chose to believe was, this is my love letter to the universe. All of that doesn't matter. So I ended up uploading it, having up to that point only known the first 30 seconds that my brother had sent me a couple weeks prior. And it uploaded to all the platforms. So after the concert, I shared it on the concert, like the link, but no one, I hadn't listened to it yet. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope this sounds decent. And after the concert, I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is dope. Like my little brother did such a good job. And I was I was just proud of myself that it was done, it was out, and it just started something new. So, yeah, since then we released one more a couple months later. It was my goal this year to release like 12 songs and have it be amazing. And we've released two. So, there's a whole process of learning my creative process, his creative process, and then how we weave together. How does it fit into our lives? And the one I'll pause in a moment here, but the one other thing about being an independent artist is, how do you get people to hear it? It's not just about making the music, then it's getting it to people's ears. So, events like the concert, my building my email list just so people can hear it. It's not like I have a record label publicizing that. So that's also a whole thing that I think this year I've had to face where I'm like, that's prevented me from making music. Where one of my promises to myself in 2024 is to just remember that value that I had when I uploaded the song
Mm.
without listening to it, which is just create it and put it out, and the rest will fall into place. And do my best to
Mm.
promote it and get it to people's ears. And it's not a big, not everything has to be a huge production. Just make it with your heart and get it out. So that
Yeah,
is, that's my plan for 2024.
beautiful. I know it's like sometimes rivers evolve from raindrops that create a little creek that create, a stream and, and then the river. So, and I love that your story really shows the power of like trust and faith, which is really those are two components, really that allow us to ground our light. So, yeah, being in that deep trust and faith, and that probably came from a lot of the healing work that you did prior. So I think, as you mentioned, we do this healing work so that we can sort of refine that diamond that's inside of us that wants to shine forward and outwards. Oh, so you mentioned how community is really supportive along this journey to kind of help, in a sense, like amplify. And I agree. Like when you're in containers with other like minded people, it really helps amplify the things that need to sort of come forward. And sometimes when you're on the journey on your own, things just take longer. And so
Preach.
yeah, so I'm wondering, what are the other things that um, help you with these sort of, help keep you open to those channeled chants or whatnot? Like I know you're a jogger, I think, right? Like do you
I
have?
used to be.
Oh, you used to be. Okay. Well, I know, like, I saw one of your posts. It looked like you were, like, outside doing a workout or whatever. But you know how, like, people talk about how they connect with the divine, like, when they're in that flow state. And a lot of times that comes with, like, physical activity, whether it's a jogging or biking or. So I was just wondering, like, are there other things that you're practicing that help you stay present so that you can hear those, like, those little droplets that are coming in?
Yeah.
Um, I'm just curious.
Yes. So for me, it's about raising my frequency. So to give an analogy of like how the sound comes through, in the micro moments of raising my frequency, and then it comes, but it's reflective of the macro, as within, so without. Like we were saying before, it's like as I healed more, it's basically like I cleaned myself out. So then all of the sudden, the rose could bloom inside of me, and then it just came. I didn't say, "Oh, let me go get voice lessons." Not that there's anything wrong with voice lessons, because if you're excited to get voice lessons and you're enjoying them, that's raising your frequency. Like that's amazing. So one of the ways that I allow songs to come through is to raise my frequency. So that's typically every morning I'm sitting in front of my altar and I'm going through my daily morning practices. And those shift from season to season depending on what I need. Um, right now, it involves like a lot of prayer and um, and some like visualization. Other times it might be like body movement, like shaking. I find shaking
Mm.
really helps me get in my body. Like I really love to shake. And I've also just been doing these 15-minute yoga sessions on YouTube. I've had some health problems recently where like a huge exercise was not an option. It's starting to become one again. But during that time, I just did these really gentle like stretches because as you know, like I love what you stand for when you say ground your light, because it really is about coming into the body, activating our remembrance within our body and staying within our body so that we can influence this world of form. because I truly believe as light workers, as way showers, we're here to build our heaven on earth in the world of form. So stretching is so important so that we can make space. Like I even just want to, if everyone just wants to stretch a little right now in their seat, I'm like, yes, just like body movement, just like lets us
Mhm.
make space for more of our soul to drop into our physical body, for more of our soul to emanate forward. So I think that's one of the things that, when I hear ground your light, I think of that. And the other thing I think of is and do as a spiritual practice is what's the next aligned step I could take? Because I think for a long time when I was trying to unplug from my hyper masculine lifestyle and just really starting to awaken, I had to go to the other side, which was total feminine and rest. And not that the feminine is always inactive, but I was really in kind of like that resting, hibernation, recovering, healing state and not a lot of outward action. And I think I know for me, and I've seen some other people get stuck where it's like, oh, we'll just embody the frequency, embody the frequency, embody the frequency. And what I've found is that that's only part of the equation, albeit the most important part, but it's also then, and what action are you taking? What email are you sending off? What conversation are you having? What, bodily practice, whether that be yoga, stretching, jogging, are you doing to actually anchor more of the frequency into your body and bring things into the world of form?
I love that. I love it. It's totally my jam too because first thing I thought of is just that purification process that we really need to do like on a daily basis. And when you mentioned the rose, like how do we care for the rose? You have to tend to the rose. Like, there's the like clipping and the trimming and the nurturing, the way you nurture the rose so that it can be strong as it grows in order to really produce the most incredible, blossom. And so that's, what we do consistently is part of the process too when you're in that consistent purification process because we do pick up on so much. We hold so much in our body that we need to clear out on a regular basis. Yeah. Um, Incredible. And I just wanted to circle back to that. I love that we have like the sacred masculine holding space, your brother, for the priestess to rise. How gorgeous is that?
So blessed.
I
So blessed.
love
I'm
it.
like, oh my gosh, this is a family affair. Like,
Unreal. I
yeah.
love that. That is just the sweetest. Mm.
Yeah. And I mean, it brings up when you say that, it's like, you know how I said we dropped two songs this year and we could have done so many more in some ways, and in some ways it was absolutely perfect. There were many other things I needed to tend to. But it's like, how often do we let our fears or our unknown, like my thinking of, well, I don't know how I'm going to get this out. Like, yeah, it's one thing to produce a song, but then how am I going to get it out? So then I didn't take action. And how many memories did I miss out on being with my little brother, creating music? Like, how that's amazing that I get to create like music with a family member. And I totally just left a lot of opportunity with that in our relationship on the table this year. And that's another reason I'm committed to making music next year. I'm like, how amazing is it that I get free production? We do a little exchange, but essentially it's very different than if I had to go find my own producer. And this is a memory when we're, in our 70s and we can look back and be like, remember when we did that? So I just invite everyone to think like, where are you holding back because you're unknown, and how are you missing out in like such a deep way with people you love, you know?
Mm. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So, Danny, the next place I kind of want to move into is because you have been doing these drum and fire ceremonies a while now. What are you discovering and witnessing is the power in expressing the voice? And I want to say too, like let's even look at like the particular way in which you are inviting others into the space to explore and to be together and to share in an intention, because a lot of the chants have a very specific like energy or frequency, and I love that about chanting, because we need so much focus. There's so much fragmentation in the world, and so it's another way to allow us to just really be present in our body and in our mind and in our emotions. So I would love to hear about that. And if I have
Yeah.
to pop off camera, it's because I'm going to just tend to my dog quick.
No
Real
problem.
life teenage daughter was supposed to put the dog downstairs, and she's scratching at the door. I don't know if you can hear that, but
We can't, but please, I'll just start
okay.
talking. Tend to your
Okay.
dog.
Yeah,
It's
if
all
I pop
good.
out, that's what I'm doing. It won't take long.
I love it. But it's the thing, it's like
It is.
real life is a thing,
It
and
totally
how do
is.
we be present and bring the love there? So,
Yeah, and
yeah,
don't let your real life mess keep you from doing these things, you know? I mean, that's another
yeah.
thing. Yeah, I there's a lot we have to work around when there's dynamics. So, our lives are very dynamic. So,
Absolutely. Multidimensionality at its realest.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me just tune back into your question. I think the first thing, I love that you used the word fragmentation, because I think that's one of the most potent things that chanting can do is we our awareness and our energy and our awareness is energy is power, right? That's our power. We can give it away to everything: to-do list, conversations, organizations, that meeting that may or may not have gone well. And so our consciousness throughout the days, weeks, months becomes fragmented. So what one of the things that chanting does is it coheres all of that energy and brings it back to us. So it's another way to say we're calling in our power and we're focalizing it into what we would like. So you mentioned the specific frequencies, and yes, what I've been shown about these chants that I'm given is they work to awaken different templates within us for remembrance. They work to heal certain aspects of our being. They work to focalize us into the direction that we want, because as we know, as priestesses, one of the main ancient arts is frequency attunement. Hey, we're experiencing this. How do we come back into love in our most powerful state? Not to bypass, but how do we honor and reattune? Honor and reattune. And so with these chants, what I invite a lot of people into is, if you're going through a shame spiral or you're finding yourself in a state that you don't want to be in, take 1 to 2 minutes and just choose a chant that feels most resonant, and just feel the spaciousness that can happen. And with these drum and fire circles, they're so quick. I mean, they're only 30 minutes, right? They're
Yeah.
monthly free 30-minute like energy revamps. And there's, first of all, something so sacred about women coming together. We're literally built to be in community, and our fields are just so wired, for lack of a better word, to amplify when we're in community. And if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's work, she's been told that, or she discovered that, intentions are squared. So if you have 5 people in a circle, your intentions actually multiplied by 25. So the more you can have, people gathering and doing meditation or doing chanting, you're literally opening portals of energy that are healing for not only yourself and who's there, but that also ripples out just into the grid of humanity. So, with coming online, what I love about it is everyone's on mute except for me. So you can be in your own sacred private space, growing your relationship with your voice. Some women are maybe just whispering or speaking, other women are singing, because There's something so important about actually using our voice and allowing our cells, allowing our DNA, allowing our being to feel the frequency coming from us rather than just listening to someone. So I always say if you're on drum and fire, don't just listen and receive. Even if you don't like to sing, if you're not ready for that, at the very least, just speak the words, even if it's just barely louder than a whisper, because you're beginning to reprogram and rewire your body to say, oh, yes, it is safe to be heard. It is safe to see myself. It is safe to come into communion with this holy vessel that is the voice, because the voice is absolute magic. And there's been so many past lifetimes, and obviously in this lifetime, but where the voice has been dangerous for us to use. But now in this time, what I'm shown is that it is safe, and it's so important that we begin to use our voice in whatever capacity that means, because the voice, I don't want to use the word tool, but it is. It's your voice is a tool of creation, and it's meant not only to be heard, but to be felt. So the more that we can clear ourselves out in our healing, the more that we can come into relationship with our voice, the more we actually begin to bring our heart forward in a way where we express it into the world rather than just working on our healing and kind of having it stay just in our body and our being. And so what women have experienced is I'll give an example. I posted this on Instagram like 2 days ago. I got a message from one of the women who was watching the replay, and she said she just started crying and something really healed. And that can happen when we chant. What we're doing is we're purifying. So you can experience crying, you could experience laughing, you could even have anger or shame come up. It's not that you're calling that in, it's that it's already there. And this chanting is liberating it out of you for you to feel it and let it go, so that we are then more clear, crystalline vessels to move through the world as more of our sacred selves. So, yeah, I'll pause there.
That was amazing, Dani. I just, yeah, so beautiful. Yeah. Um, and like, and I like to use the word tool because, like, it's so good to learn what tools are useful to have in our back pocket for when we need to reattune ourselves, our energetic anatomy, like our subtle anatomy. It's we need those tools, and we have this, yeah, this divinely given device to use at any time. And so it is. There is something special about how using your own voice just feels in the body, and that's what I've been exploring for myself because my personal story is I was really from an early childhood, sort of through like experiences where you kind of you don't understand as a child very well, and so you react in a certain way to protect yourself. And so for me, I learned to quiet myself because I'd never felt heard when I was trying to share and express myself. So it's been one of my greatest challenges in life is to really just feel comfortable speaking out. And even though I've always felt called to be in somewhat of a leadership role, whether it's teaching meditation or teaching yoga, I had to really work to use my voice. And I'll never forget, like, even in my bodywork practice, which I was in my very early 20s, and having to just even converse with strangers and go into a very intimate setting where I was working, that was my practice ground to start using my voice more freely. But it's been a lifelong opening, and so I'm still practicing with, I have sound healing bowls and a gong and all that. And so just toning is kind of where I sort of land. And since I have always had a very embodied practice, what I find is when I do exercise my voice is how like shocking the influence is on the whole body because you are creating vibration and you're moving energy, and it's just a extremely potent practice and a very like I feel like it can be very personal. I mean, you know how like song too just can evoke so much emotion. And so even when you play around with sound, it can, like you said, it can bring up stuff. And that's not to scare anyone off either. Sometimes, you know, when those emotions arise, it's a really healthy process. And sometimes we have to just allow ourselves to go into those uncomfortable places because we don't grow otherwise. So that's what I love. Your 30-minute, like, offering is such a great place for people to come into a safe place and practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up, I think this is so important. I just want to double tap on it. Like making noise, like moving energy with your voice. I think probably if there was one practice that someone was like, I want to be a wonderful singer, I want to sound so good, I would be like, literally make sound for 5 minutes a day. Like, like whatever wants to come through. Because the thing about the voice is, I almost relate to it as its own consciousness. Like, make it less, it's a very personal thing, but like let's make it impersonal for a second and just let it sound however it's going to sound, because we're taught and conditioned to be bad or good. That sounds good, that sounds bad. And really, at its core, all sound is sacred. All sound is sacred because of what you just said. All sound is moving energy, all sound is purifying. So it's so important that we can just give ourselves the gift of, I'm just going to take my personal identity out of this and allow my voice to exercise itself, allow my voice to, sound however it wants to sound, and to release things from within me that I don't even know are necessarily there. And what a gift that we have tools like making sound, or like some of the other things you mentioned with music and body movement, that just move energy, where we're literally healing ourselves without having to go into story around it of, oh, that was this wound from this time. It's just, let's just get it all out, let's just move it. We don't have to analyze everything, although there's spaces and places for that, and that's very helpful and good in growing our awareness and our relationship to ourselves. But isn't it so nice that there's ways to move energy where we don't have to take a lot of time and take a lot of space? We can take 3 minutes and just make sound, or even 10 seconds making sound each morning is going to set you on a snowball effect with your relationship to your voice. And that translates not just in your practice of singing, but it's all of a sudden you're speaking up more in meetings. All of a sudden you're having more courage to have that conversation that's a little scary. All of a sudden you're speaking to your kids with more compassion because you're having more compassion for yourself. So one of the biggest things that I tell people that I'm helping unlock their voice is, this is not about sounding good. This is a practice of non judgment and self compassion and deep love and reverence for your voice and yourself. And as a byproduct, as you grow that, your voice is naturally going to sound better.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on that too, that I think different cultures have different relationships to the voice and how the voice can really be a powerful tool to move through grief. And not to generalize, but honestly, like where Danny and I live, because we're close in proximity, it's very Protestant, and which is very inward and private and quiet. And so through sometimes religion, sometimes culture, and sometimes social norms, we've been conditioned to quiet our voice. And I just want to invite the voice back as a tool to really move through grief, and allowing those wails and those ugly sounds to come out, because it is a really necessary part of healing through grief. And that's a complicated process that most of us haven't really learned. We don't learn how to sort of move through those healing spirals of grief. And so this particular tool of using the voice can be something that's really, really helpful to clear out the body.
Absolutely. Amen to that. I'm just letting that land. I'm like, yes,
Mm.
I've been crying almost every day for 2 years. I've really gotten comfortable with grief, and it's, there's so much, there's such gifts in it. And I think, like you said, we're not taught. And I remember back when I was first awakening, I was living in Manhattan, and I would come home from the office and I would have to literally create space. The achiever in me was like, I'm going to relearn how to cry. And I made this playlist on Spotify of sad songs, and I would sit and I would try to cry. And sometimes I could cry and sometimes I couldn't. And then sometimes I'd start to cry, but then I'd be so happy that I finally was starting to cry that then the crying would stop. And I just want to share that because it's like, you know, explore whatever can help you in whatever you're trying to learn. I knew there was grief in me. I knew I needed to, I just hadn't cried. I didn't know how. And I really wanted to learn, and now it comes so easily to me, and it's one of my favorite. I look at it as a spiritual practice, like crying the tears of my life and also crying the tears of the world. And our tears are salty, they purify us, they're extracting
Yeah.
all the stuff we don't need anymore energetically, all old programs, belief systems. It's healing the simple ways the body is built to just have us be healed and aligned all the time is immense. We just overcomplicate it. It's like make sound, cry, move your body. But it's so hard because our culture doesn't necessarily allow for that. And even in your own home, you might feel like, you might have to have some conversations with a spouse or children of like, hey, this is my time for the next hour. You're gonna might hear some weird sounds coming from this room, but I'm like in my practice, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And another note on that, and then I definitely want to move into some practice so we can hear what you have to offer. But it's funny that like there's been like this movement through like the yoga culture of like laughter yoga. But what does that say really? Like it's okay to laugh, but like still crying is, maybe something to be kept in private. Although there is also like rage dens or whatever, but that again, yeah, like the anger's okay, but like when someone's crying, there's such a stigma around it because it's like shows weakness, and it is so far from the truth. That crying in those tears, and how many women apologize when they start crying, right?
Everyone, that's one thing
Everyone.
I say in my women's circles. I'm like,
I know.
no
Don't
apologizing.
apologize. Yeah, I mean, I think the tears are so powerful because when you're the one that's crying, yeah, you feel like a little on in the spotlight and it might be uncomfortable. But what it does is it has such a powerful impact on everyone else in the room. And so your tears, your expression of grief or sorrow, sharing your story, so immensely powerful. So do not underestimate the power and the strength and all of that around tears and expressing grief. So important, something that's just really been diluted and like suppressed and ignored in our culture. So yeah.
So much yes, so much yes. I'm gonna. I'm like, I could totally go on a tangent. We could talk for hours,
I
Lauren.
know, I know.
So yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, where do you think you want to take us, Danny, to give us a little experiential um, practice?
So I think first what we'll do is I'll just there's two chants that work really well together, and I feel like they're so perfect right now with just where the collective's at, and having the 12/12 gateway yesterday, and having it be the end of the year of just really giving ourselves permission to release. And
Mhm.
there's another one all around peace that's really simple, but it's profound how they work together to just release and allow ourselves to open and then anchor in, a frequency of peace as, obviously on the world stage, we could really use that. And then, even in quote unquote normal times, the holidays can be really hectic and not always so joyful. We have to be really intentional to make them feel joyful and celebratory. And because when we do that, it brings so much to the world. If we just stay in our despair and our sorrow, yes, we need to honor it. But if we just stay there, we're not actually helping to bring in the balance of when we go into joy, when we go into these celebrations, when we truly can get into a vibration of, I am happy, I am grateful, this is beautiful, I'm relating. We're adding more love into the world to help infuse and stop some of what is happening. So truly, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, that's why I have these two chants that were. I was like, I just wanted to come through. So these are two chants. I think first, what I'll do is I'll ask you to mute because I'm going to have to put a certain sound setting on, and there will be an echo if you are unmuted. And first, we'll just start with just a drum clearing because we're actually going to sing these two chants a cappella with no instruments. But I just want to invite everyone to just begin making sound wherever you are. We're just going to clear our vessel. Like, let's just clear it out. How we've kind of been talking, I'm going to beat the drum for maybe 30 seconds and I'm going to make some sound, and you can make whatever sound you want to come through. So here we go. Hi, oh, ah, just clearing out. Hi. Maybe bringing in a little movement, rolling our neck. So, this first chant, I'll just begin singing, and I'll go through it maybe 8 to 10 times. So, feel free to join whenever you're ready. It goes like this. It's I release what is not meant for me 3 times. So it's I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me. And for what is, I open and I receive. So not only is this chant clearing us out, but it's also helping us to open and be in receivership, which doesn't come so naturally in our world where it's go, 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 produce, meet everyone's needs. It's no, I give myself permission to open and receive. And it goes like this. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me, and for what is I open and I receive. I release what is not meant for me. I release what last three. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me, and for what is I open and I receive. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me, and for what is I open and I receive. Last time. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me. I release what is not meant for me, and for what is I open and I receive. Just taking a moment with your eyes closed, nice deep breath. And allowing the vibrations that you've created to fall upon your shoulders like snowflakes of the divine, grounding you in your body, in safety, in love. And just notice what you feel in your body. Maybe you have emotions that are coming up. Maybe you feel tight. Maybe you feel relaxed and open and spacious. Just notice the subtle shifts. There's no right or wrong in what we're feeling. It is what it is. And taking another deep breath and coming back to the space. So, Lauren, before we move on to the next one, I'd love for you to just unmute and just share any shifts you've noticed.
Well, my first thought is and feeling is that it was just so sweet and tender. There's sometimes we put too much effort into trying to do things, and there was something so gentle about this invitation to release and receive, and it was the sweetness and of like the melody that you put with that, the words. And so it was like this effortless action. And I really appreciate that because that is really a sweet spot. It's really hard to master because we usually operate out of that more masculine, like get it done, like it's got to be a job, it's got to be, you know, it's always got to be hard work. And that's one of the things that is so beautiful about what the feminine brings in too, is that really effortless action, that softness, that it's that rose unfurling its petals. It's like it just doesn't need to be a striving. So that's what I was feeling into it.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so fun because, as you mentioned, earlier in the call, there's different chants for different frequencies. So there are chants where it's like, "Ooh," like the Isis staff is here and we're moving forward and you feel like, and then there's these other ones that are so silky and nourishing. And I'm really finding that at this time, I'm really drawn to those ones that just nourish our hearts so deeply. And I love how you put that effortless action.
Yeah.
So that was the first chant. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And we'll go into the second one, and it's super easy. It's I am peace four times through, I think, and you'll hear the melody and just and just be able to come through, and we'll do it the same as that other one. We'll go through it, maybe 5 times, just given how much time we have. But this is just anchoring us back into our hearts. And yeah, I guess here we go. I am peace. 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 Last three. I am peace. 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 Taking a deep breath. Acknowledging your center, acknowledging your heart, acknowledging your love, and coming back to the space. Hmm.
Thank you, Dani. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, sister. Such an
Yeah.
honor.
So if I could, I want to just share what came through with that too.
Please.
Is um, the idea of embodying what we desire is so important, and the way like chanting works in the nervous system is so miraculous, because when we like the idea of chanting a simple phrase over and over again is really what causes the body to re-regulate, and then we really embody what we desire, what we want to create on the inside. So I love the repetition of chanting, just seems really important piece of the nervous system.
Absolutely. It tones the vagus nerve, which is,
Yeah.
our main kind of central highway nerve. And it's just a fancy way of saying chanting helps you be more calm more of the time. And what a blessing is that?
Mm. Yeah. And I'm going to let you in on a secret, because one of the things I've always sort of maybe compared myself to is like I had that high school girlfriend that like always knew all the lyrics to every song. And I'm just not one of those people. Like it takes me a long time and like 100 times of playing a song before I can learn all the lyrics. With chanting, I love it because they're usually shorter and simpler. And so I'm like, I can learn a song. Yeah, so bless the women that like can just pull out a song and they know all the lyrics. I love it. It's like amazing to me. But I do really appreciate chanting for this particular reason as well.
It makes it so easy to recall in the moments when you need it, you know?
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
those everyday moments. If,
Yeah.
someone cuts you off on the highway and, you go into anger and it's like, okay, let me just, I am peace. I am
Yeah.
peace.
I mean, and if you don't remember the melody, that Danny
Make your
created
own.
for I Am Peace, make your own up. Yeah. It's like I got the words, but I don't know if I can remember the melody. Yeah. Just create your own. Yeah.
Totally.
Oh gosh. So, Danny, when is the next annual and remind me what you call it? It's the
The Voice of the Rose
concert.
Lineage concert? Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Because I did
So
just see that in your email and I was like, ooh, yay.
yes, I'm so excited. So it is January 26th. And what I absolutely love about this so much is, I have sisters join me from around the world. So the timing, we're still getting down because I have someone in Glastonbury who's tuning in from there, and then possibly someone from Australia. We're still trying to figure it out. But of course, when you're trying to coordinate the time zones, it's kind of up in the air. So we have the date. Friday, January 26th. There's a replay available if you register and you
Mhm.
can't make the time, and the time will be announced within the next couple of weeks here.
Great. I know the last one was just incredible. Incredible. So
Yeah,
I'm so
thank you
glad you're
so much.
doing that again. And there are
Me,
so many, yeah, and there's so many gifted women bringing, yeah, music into, yeah, our hearts. So,
yeah, and it's also everyone who shows up on the call. I will say, like, that has was because the last one was technically this year. It feels like last year because it was in February, and now we're at the end of
I
this
believe
year.
that.
But the women that showed up, people were making altars and sending me pictures of their altars in preparation of the concert. Like, it's so much bigger than a concert. It's a reclamation. It really is. It's just a
Yeah,
reclamation of the Rose lineage that we all feel inside, that we're ready to steward. And I feel so blessed and honored to be a part of it, even though I'm bringing it forth. It's like it's from spirit. I'm just like, yay, this is
yeah,
cool. I get to partake. I'm so grateful. So
yeah.
yeah, thank you for coming last year. And
Mm,
yeah, and also just being here with you today. It's so special. I love
yeah.
chatting with you and connecting with
Yeah. Thank you so much, Danny. And I know everyone that'll catch this replay, I hope you enjoy as much as I did this luscious conversation and exploration. And hopefully, it's really like maybe sparking an area in your own life that, needs a little attention and in permission to open into. Sometimes we just need that permission to see other women exploring their voices. And so I hope this serves you well. And from the bottom of my heart, may you be blessed and loved and find your power and wisdom. Mm, many, many well wishes to all.